Y'all, my baby girl just threw a tantrum, just screaming, crying, trying to get her way. And I've been trying to practice something that involves a lot more patience and control of my own emotions. And today I finally got what I want to call a small victory. So let's get right into it. I'm excited to do this and share with you my little story real quick. I got to shout out this book. It's called ScreamFree Parenting. If you have not heard about it, I'm going to link it in my description, but it is a must. I absolutely think this book is a must for you, especially if you are struggling with just the parent you are, understanding why you're going through the emotions you go through. And it's just something that I found super relatable. I have maybe read 20 pages of this. I'm a busy guy. I got school. I got being a parent, of course. I work full time. And I'm running this podcast and website. And so I don't really have a lot of time on my hands, it feels like. But this book makes me want to read it every single night. It makes me want to put down my computer, put down my schoolwork at times, just so I can get a few pages in every single night. It's ScreamFree Parenting, and it is a must. Y'all, I found this book literally at a thrift store, and it doesn't even have like a cover picture or anything on it. I don't know if like a real book does. I'm sure it does, but it didn't even have a picture on it. It's just a blank hard book. And on the spine of it said ScreamFree Parenting. I wasn't even looking for a parenting book. I was looking for more, lifestyle or business related. I was just looking around, browsing. And this was the first book I picked up, and I am so proud and grateful that I grabbed it. You guys got to check it out. Now, I know I'm going a little deep with this book stuff right now, but just hear me out, because most resources and just being a man, being a father, just involves putting your children first, right? It's always about your child's needs, your family's needs, and you put yourself last. You put yourself on the back burner, and oftentimes you get lost. You get lost in that headspace of not knowing where you're mentally at. You get exhausted. You don't know how to control your own emotions. And this book tells you the exact opposite. It tells you to focus on yourself first. Put yourself first and learn how to control your own emotions. And even though it's called Scream-Free Parenting, you automatically think, oh, it's for parents that scream. But it describes in the book that screaming is often different things as a parent. So you could be the one that automatically caves in. If your child is throwing a tantrum or having a behavior that's not so ideal in your mind, and you got other shit going on in your house or just in your situation, you just automatically cave in. You give them what it is they need or they're asking for, just to get them quiet and on to the next step. It buys you essentially a few more minutes. Or maybe you are someone that yells, someone that raises their voice, gets more of an intimidating tone. And I, just being a dad and how I was raised, I'm often this one. I'm the one that, gets my voice a little bit louder. I don't scream, but, I make sure my voice is heard. And at times, if I'm not being heard, you can hear the tone in my voice. It's more frustration. It's more anger. And, the intent behind it is to get my child's attention, to have control over my child's actions, and to essentially give them a warning like, hey, do not cross my boundary, do not cross my line, because if you do, I'm going to start getting pissed off. And you don't want to see daddy pissed off. Daddy doesn't want to be pissed off. And so it's all up to you. The situation is in your hands, how I'm going to react. I'm going to react either in a good way or a bad way, or just a neutral way. And so it emphasizes just like thinking about that. Like think truly about that situation. Whatever that situation looks like for you. And ask yourself, does it sound right? Does it sound good? Is that a value that you want in your household? Because it's not something I want in mine. The more I thought about it, the more I think about it today, I'm just like, damn, do I really want to tell my children that they have all the power in the world to essentially dictate what my next move is? If they don't do something, then they're going to get the wrath of dad. And that sounds terrible. That makes me feel terrible, and that's not my goal. At the end of the day, I want my children to trust me, and I don't want my house to be full of anxiety. And that's exactly what I'm building, is anxiety in my house. Because these are little kids, these are children. You might not have children, your children might be, older by now, but they have anxiety. They have this thought process of, I have all power over my adult, the person that I look up to, or the person I live with. It's all in my hands if my parents are going to be cool or if they're going to be bad. And that's not cool. That's not the ideal outcome, right? I know I'm rambling on with this, but just hear me out, because I've been thinking about this for the past few days. I've only had the book for a week now, but I've been really trying to put it into action. I'm telling myself, I can control myself. At the end of the day, we are truly only in control with ourselves. We can't control our children. We can't control our spouses. We can't control our coworkers. We can't control just the areas around us. And nor should you even want that. That's exhausting. That makes you someone that you're not a desire to be around. And just really think about having control over everything. It's not ideal. It's not cool. And so I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, this is why I'm so exhausted with myself. This is why I feel like I'm failing all the damn time, because I feel like I can't control my kids. I can't control how my work day is going. I can't control how my wife is responding to, words I'm saying. And it comes down to I can't even control myself. My life is spiraling out right now. I'm so depressed. I'm so tired because I have no control over anything in my life. Until I finally sat down and I thought about it deeply and I said, damn, I can only control me. And as a parent, I shouldn't even be controlling my children, because that's not what I want. I want to be the person that guides them, the person that teaches them wrong from right, but teaches them in the wrong from right in a healthy way. Now, I'm not saying my children aren't going to be punished. My children aren't going to be disciplined for things that are not okay, a standard that I'm still holding. But in no way does it need to be in a uncontrolled fashion, in a fashion that's going to be letting myself loose and out of anger and frustration and just negativity. So now I want to discuss what happened and how I handled it. That way you guys can get a better understanding of what I'm trying to say, because I have a feeling it might be a little confusing by now, but just bear with me. And so my child was taking a bath, and she came out and was asking me, like, Daddy, can I watch a movie with you before bed? And I responded saying, we can watch a movie, but it's only going to be for about 5 minutes because you got school tomorrow. We got to go to bed and it's almost your bedtime. So this is what we're going to do. You got 5 minutes. You got to do all the things, your night routine, essentially. And that was starting by putting on your pajamas and us brushing her hair. So she agrees. She gets her pajamas, gets the brush, and she comes back out to where I'm at and starts to put on her pajamas. And I'm just like, hey, you're missing something. What are you missing right now? And she's got like so many things going on in her mind. She has putting on the pajamas. She has listening to what I'm trying to tell her. Me saying like, hey, you're missing something, buddy. You're missing something. Like, come on, don't put on your pajamas yet. And because in reality, the whole time she was missing her undergarments. And so I'm just telling her, you got to put your chonies on, girl. So she starts getting frustrated. It starts building up. And I'm telling her, relax, calm down. This isn't something to get frustrated with. And everything I'm saying is in a I want to describe it as monotone, as laid back, just to give her the reassurance that I'm not getting frustrated with her. I'm not getting frustrated that she's getting frustrated. And so it continues to build. And in my mind, I'm thinking there's little to nothing right now where I can de-escalate the situation, because I want my baby to de-escalate it herself. She's getting to an age where she needs to learn how to independently figure it out on her own and be able to overcome these challenges just by relaxing, calming down, maybe taking a step back and observing the situation instead of trying to like manhandle and power through what she's trying to do. Because in this point, she's driving her leg through the pant hole and it doesn't go through because she's just trying to shove her leg at a specific part of the pajamas that doesn't allow her leg to go through. And so because I'm running out of options of de-escalation and just trying to calm her down, I'm telling her like, hey, if you're not going to calm down right now, then we're not going to watch a movie. Like, you're going to get no movie at this point. And this is just escalating her even further. And typically at this point, I'm just like, hey, knock it off. Relax. This is not something to be crying about. But instead, I have this in the back of my mind, like, hey, do not get to that point where you're starting to raise your voice. You don't need to be heard right now in this moment. This is okay. And so it just keeps going on. And there's a moment where it's like a brief silence. I'm sure you guys can relate with this, especially if you're not someone that yells. You wait for that brief break in silence, and then you throw in your words really quick. And so that's what I did. There was that brief break, and I was just like, hey, we're not going to be watching a movie tonight. And that just set her off. And so she's just crying and whining. And I try to teach my girls that having emotions is okay. Crying is okay. But it's the whining, it's the screaming, it's the yelling, whatever it is you want to call it, all the noise that come with the crying, the baby crying, that's what I don't like. And it's often what triggers me to react so quickly and react in a negative way. And so I'm having to tell myself mentally this whole time, like, relax, it's okay. I need to breathe. And I just let her cry. And when she would like kind of escalate to the point where she's whining a little bit more, just trying to be heard, I would try my best to kind of just cut it down. Be like, hey, you don't need to be screaming. It's okay to cry, but do not start screaming. And voila, like me just being patient and letting her go through her emotions allowed her to come back down, allowed her to relax, figure out that she needed to put on her undergarments and then put on her pajamas. That was all she needed to do, and she didn't need to manhandle it. And I kind of taught her through it with my words of start grabbing at the leg hole and putting your foot through it instead of just grabbing it from the shoulders, because it was a onesie, and just driving your leg through it. Now, this isn't my victory. This is like the smallest of victories. I can often overcome this with my baby girl just by doing this. It just takes a lot more patience. It takes a lot more energy, and oftentimes something that I try to just shortcut my way through it, which leads me to the yelling and whatnot. So that's why I kept telling myself, relax. This is not something to yell over, because if my kid's yelling and I'm telling my child, you can't be yelling in my house, and I'm yelling that, then that's just showing them that daddy doesn't even follow his own rules. Daddy doesn't even acknowledge his own standard that he set in his house, in the family house. And so why should we follow this? Now daddy's a dictator at this point. It's not do as I do, it's do as I say. And I don't want that for my children. I refuse to be that for my children. So I've even been cleaning up my own mess after I make a mess. That way that I could show them to clean up their own mess. I've been putting my shoes away every single day. When I get home from work, I put my work clothes away. The same thing I want my children to do. They get home, they take the shoes off, they kick the shits off. Like, no, go put it away. And so I got to do the same. Keep getting off track, and I apologize. But so the real situation was we were going to bed, and the emotions were still there. She was still, puppy crying because she wanted to read a book. And I had told her at this point, like, hey, we're not going to read a book, because there was a moment where she screamed at me. She screamed at me no when I was trying to tell her, like, hey, calm down. It's okay. It's okay to be feeling this way, but you need to relax. And she was like, no. And often that would also trigger me, but I just looked away. I disengaged from that moment, and I let her go through her emotions. And we try to read a book every single night. 9 times out of 10, we read a book every single night. And that's one of the tactics or punishments, I should say, that happens is if my children aren't meeting a standard in their evening routines, then oftentimes the threat of like the book removal for the night is the go-to. I'm sure some of you, like if you have teenagers, it's taking away the phone or taking away electronics for the day or for a few hours. Ours is a book. Just because they're so little, they don't really get electronics. They don't have their own devices. So I'm just like, I'm going to take away the book if you do not act a certain way. And so that's what happened. And I had made sure I told her numerous times throughout the whole nightly routine that we're not reading a book because of her actions, because of her whiningness, because of her arguing and screaming at me, and that's not going to be okay. But I would also throw on top of it, hey, but tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow you get to start fresh, you get to start new. It's a new day for me too. And it's a new day to get that book back, because we're going to read the book. Tomorrow, we're going to read the book as long as you are acting as a good girl, as someone positive, and someone that is in control of their own emotions. And so she's in bed, and she's doing like this fake hyperventilating thing that she does. And I know it's fake because she often does it when she's seeking attention. There's no tears. There's no actual crying. It's just that seeking of attention. And so she's going into this hyperventilating thing. And I'm like, hey, it's okay. Relax. But I'm not saying it like that. I'm not saying it with that like weird tone I just did. I'm like, relax, baby. It's going to be okay. This is going to be all right. You're not going to die. You're not hurt. You're just sad. And I'd mentioned to her, hey, I'm not going to give you a hug and kiss right now, but just know that daddy wants to give you a hug and kiss for bed. But if you're going to keep hyperventilating and doing this crying thing, it's not going to happen at this moment. So I need you to calm down, get a hold of your emotions, and let's figure this out. And the moment I started talking to her was the moment where like her whining with her mouth, or like yelling, I should say, just a loud exhaust of just crying is the best way I can describe it. It was just over, the volume of it was just taking over what my words were being said. So I was not being heard in that moment. And it was on purpose. It was, she didn't want to hear me because she's not getting her way, or she's not getting the book in this outcome, or she wasn't getting a hug and a kiss at the moment. And so she just wanted control of that situation. Often like how we feel, we want control over that situation. And it took a lot of patience and strength for me not to get louder or be more intimidating. And so I left the room. I disengaged from the situation by leaving the room because I knew my child was in a safe space. God damn. She was in the comfort of her bed, and we were in the comfort of our home. And I had all the time in the world, and that's key. That's key for me when I'm thinking about this stuff is I have all the time in the world right now. I'm in no rush to have this situation under control. I am in no rush to handle this peak of emotions. And so I'm going to disengage for a second, and I'm going to reattack it or take a different approach maybe by stepping out and allowing myself and herself to overcome our emotions. And so I can hear her in the room, and she's screaming at this point. She's screaming like bloody murder. And that in itself, too, takes a lot of strength from me. Maybe you guys go through the same thing when your children are just screaming or throwing a giant tantrum. It takes every ounce of you not to get frustrated, especially after a long day of work or just having so many tasks that you still need to complete in the house while your kid is down. And just to hear it, it rattles you. It makes you not want to do what it is you need to do. It makes you just want to go to bed. It makes you pissed off. It makes you maybe want to crack open a beer. I don't know what it is for you, but it makes me tired. If I have homework to do, if I have cleaning to do, and I'm hearing this, and I'm having to de-escalate my children, I'm just like, I don't even want to do anything at this point. At this point, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start yelling. And I'm going to start raising hell because they're raising hell. And so since screaming and tantrums are like my biggest, strike to my dad ego, I was having to talk. I was physically talking out loud, or verbally talking, I should say. But I was verbally talking out loud to myself. Hey, it's okay, Carlo. It's going to be all right. And there was no one else in the house. It was just me and my daughter. So I don't know if that makes you uncomfortable. If it does, then just tell it to yourself internally. But I was saying it out loud because my child was screaming so loud too that I couldn't even hear my own voice inside my head. So I was just like, hey, that's okay, Carlo. She's safe right now. You're safe. You are not going to be challenged by this. Your 4-year-old daughter is not going to destroy your ego, destroy your life as a dad just by screaming. So relax, take a deep breath, and we're going to figure this out. And so she's screaming for her mom at this point too. And so I thought this was a great time to go in there. And I don't know what it was. It was just my instinct. I'm sure you guys get that daddy instinct sometime too. But I went in there, turned on the light, and I was just like, hey, what do you think would happen right now if your mama was home? Do you think your mom would be happy with how you're screaming and you're handling the situation? And just me talking to her in this moment, and that's all it takes sometimes is the numerous attempts of talking or being able to insert yourself back into the situation at a point where they're like essentially vulnerable and they're ready to listen. Because that whole time she was screaming so I could get back in the room to get her a hug and a kiss, right? And so I'm back in the room. She got what she wanted. She wasn't getting a hug and a kiss at this moment. And so she was like half winning at this moment. And I'm telling her like, this isn't how we act. Your mama wouldn't be happy with this. I'm not happy with this. And I straight up told my daughter, I was completely open with her. My 4-year-old child looked her straight in the eye while she's laying down in bed. And I'm just telling her, Daddy's mad right now. Daddy's actually getting very frustrated. And I'm getting upset with you. I'm getting upset at you right now. And I don't like that. I don't want to be upset with you. And I had asked her, do you think Daddy is yelling at you right now? And she responded, no. And I countered it with, do you think Daddy is being mean? Am I spanking your butt? Is there anything that's making you hurt? And she said, no. And I had told her, I'm like, Yes, absolutely. I am not doing anything to harm you. I'm not doing anything to yell at you right now, but I need you to know that I'm angry and I'm very frustrated and I don't want to be. And I said, Daddy has a control over his emotions. So Daddy's mad at you. Daddy's upset in this situation, but I'm in control of my emotions. I'm still talking to you like I am okay. And I understand that you're sad. You're sad right now, right? And she replied, yes. And I said, I know why you're sad. It's okay to be sad, but it's not okay for you not to be in control of your emotions. You're screaming, you're yelling, and just constant hyperventilating noises is not okay. That's not how we handle things, and that's not being in control of your emotions, right? And she responded, yes. And so this is when the next part is when I saw the light in her eyes just go off, like the light bulb cartoon or whatever it is you want to call it. But I had told her, so Daddy's upset and I'm in control of my emotions, and you're sad and you're not in control of your emotions. So I want us to work together right now. I want us both to be so in control of our emotions. I want us both to listen with our active listening ears. And I pretended like I was winding up a dial. And I was like, so Daddy's winding up his active listening ears, and I want you to listen too. Right now, you're doing great. Right now, you are listening to me, and you are in control of your emotions. You're no longer crying. You're no longer screaming. And this is exactly what I want. And this is something you should want too. And at this moment, she started smiling. I got a little grin out of her. And she understood what I was saying at this point, which was so relieving. So I had mentioned to her, Daddy needs 5 solid minutes. 5 solid minutes of you in here in control of your emotions, no longer screaming, and being a good girl. If you can give me 5 solid minutes, I'll come in here and I'll give you the biggest hug and the biggest kiss. And we'll go to bed and start tomorrow fresh. Okay? And she responded, okay, Daddy. Now, I don't know about you guys. Some of you guys at that point, if you are the type to disengage and leave the situation or the scenario, whatever's happening, and in this case, it's bedtime, you might just leave it at that. And that's okay. But in my house, even with my wife, like if my wife and I have a verbal disagreement or just any sort of disagreement and we're upset with each other, I like to get that kiss at the end of the night. I like to say I love you at the end of the night. I'm just the type of person that's soft and wants that reassurance that like everything is okay despite the frustrations that we just went through. Like we're still a family, we still love each other, and I want it to be known. And if that's not you, if that's not how you roll, I'm not telling you that's what you guys need to do, but that's just something I do. And so I like to do the same thing with my children, even though the attitudes or the emotions are high from everybody. I want them to still know that we're still a family and we all love each other. And that's what family is still caring and loving for each other at the end of the day, despite how the day might have went. Which is why I went back in there after 5 minutes and I gave her the biggest hug and the biggest kiss. And I had told her, thank you so much for getting in control of your emotions. You did that like a big girl. Now, I had this victory that I was so proud of with myself and with my daughter, despite the buildup and the during of it, just the constant chaos, what felt like for 40 minutes. I'm sure it wasn't 40 minutes, but it sure as hell felt like it. But I'm proud of myself for being patient. And I know that doesn't sound ideal to a lot of us. If you were telling me this and I was hearing this too, and I was just listening to it like 40 fucking minutes, my ass, I don't got 40 minutes, I would be saying the same thing. But I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to keep building it. because I strongly believe that just because last night was a 40-minute incident or however long it was, the more I practice it, the more I preach it, the more that it's a common thing, that time is going to go down and down and down to the point where my children are going to have their emotions under control. They're going to see that daddy's emotions are under control, and that's how life should be. That's the main thing about being in control of yourself is your emotions. And so it's going to take time. It's going to take steps. And I love that I'm saying this because when I used to work in an elementary school with behavioral children and special needs, I learned that for just one week, and I might be wrong on this because it's been a while since I worked in the school setting with behavioral kids. But I believe it's if there's a week of an emotion or a behavior, so a week long of a certain behavior, that one behavior is going to take 3 months. 3 months to get handled or to completely just erase it, essentially. I don't know how else to put it, and I'm sorry that I'm using the wrong verbiage, but that's how I'm imagining this too. So this is going to take some time. That's what I'm trying to get at, is it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of patience and a lot of just repetition. Just because we handled it the way it went last night doesn't mean that tomorrow night isn't going to be the same thing, but with different challenges or different emotions. And I just got to keep telling myself that's what's going to happen. We have children. They're little kids. They don't even understand half the emotions they're going through. But we understand what we're going through. And sometimes we don't. But we need to understand that. We need to recognize that. We need to be able to say, I don't know what's going on with me right now, what's going through my head. All I know is it's negative. All I know is it's tearing me up. And I feel like I'm on the edge of my seat and I'm just ready to pop off. So I'm going to leave it at that. I know this one was longer than the previous episodes, but I wanted to share this book and my strategy that I'm trying to implement and just let you guys know that there's other options out there. I don't know if you're already practicing this. If you are, congrats. Please let us know how you're doing, how you do it. Share your stories. Or maybe you're the one that's the scream parent, the screaming one, the one that yells, the one that disengages and just forgets and forgives right away. But share your story. Let's hear about it. Let's all work together. And let's keep building a community of great, like-minded fathers that are wanting the best for their kiddos, wanting the best for their family, and want the best for themselves. That one's very important. You guys matter. You guys are not alone. In no way are you guys the shit at the bottom of the shoe, man. You guys are up there. You guys are superhero to your kids. And if no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of all the hard work that you're putting in. I'm proud that you're even looking for resources or listening to this episode all the way through. Thank you very much if you did. But I'm proud that you are listening and you are wanting to do better for your kids. You are wanting to be the best version of yourself so that they live with the best version of yourself. You don't want your kids growing up living with someone that was constantly angry, constantly sad, or just not in control of themselves. So I'm proud of you. You're a fucking rock star. And let's keep building this. Let's keep working. Let's be the men that we need to be and show the world that there are fathers out there, and a lot of fathers that bust their ass every day to be the best version of themselves. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a blessed day, blessed night, whatever time you're looking at this or listening it. And just have a great month. Let's keep working hard, boys. Peace. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, comment, whatever it is you want to do. Check out thatdad.co for transcripts of the episodes. For a little post, every single episode, I put a post at the bottom of it, just explaining the episode in a different way. And just to sum it up, if you guys don't want to listen to it fully, but that's thatdad.co. I also have thatdad.store that has my merchandise. It's fly ass shirts, hoodies, jackets. You guys won't be disappointed in it. It's cool. And then if you follow me on my socials, I'm at thatdadcarlo, thatdadcarlo. And that's on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. But I look forward to hearing from y'all. I hope you guys enjoy this. And I appreciate you guys deeply. Peace.